Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Young and restless Jess Walton recalls getting wet and wild with Gene Cooper. This scene was pure magic. As fans, we often have our favorite scenes involving the characters we love or love to hate, and when it comes to the stars, they have unforgettable ones as well. The young and the restless Jess Walton recently posted a photo featuring one of Jill and Catherine's many physical altercations, and it was one that left a castmate blown away. This scene with Gene Cooper was pure magic. Wild, funny, and unforgettable, Walton stated of the infamous water fight. "We laughed so much that day. Grateful for every moment I got to share with her on and off screen. Watching the scene play out on our screens was laugh-out-loud hilarious. Can you imagine how it was for those watching it from behind the scenes at the studio? I remember watching this live on the floor," Greg Rickhart, Kevin, Days of Our Lives Leo stated. "I hadn't been on the show for very long and was just blown away by how brilliant you both were. So committed and having so much fun at the same time. What a dream." Fans loved seeing the throwback photo and Edie Montagano-Thompson shared, "Boy, I have to admit, when you post these photos it makes me miss Gene so much. And I miss you being on the show too. It has never been the same." Sadly, Cooper passed away on May 8, 2013, and the legendary actress has been missed ever since. If there's a Mount Rushmore of the young and the restless legends, Gene Cooper and Jess Walton are carved in granite at its summit. As Catherine Chancellor and Jill Foster Abbott, these two fierce women didn't just share scenes, they ignited them. For decades, fans were treated to some of the most biting, emotional, and downright entertaining showdowns daytime television had to offer. And according to Jess Walton herself, one moment stands out from all the rest, a scene so unforgettable, so wild, that it still lives rent-free in her heart, and ours the day she and Gene Cooper got soaked, screamed at each other, and made soap opera magic. This wasn't just a scene. It was a culmination of years of chemistry, character building, and that rare lightning-in-a-bottle moment that only happens when the right actors meet the right material at the right time. So what made it so unforgettable? Why does Walton still laugh, cry, and swell with pride when she remembers getting wet and wild with Cooper? Buckle up. We're diving deep. First, a look back, Jill and Catherine, a rivalry for the ages. Before we get to the scene, let's set the stage. Jill and Catherine didn't just feud. They warred. They tore up wills, seduced each other's husbands, stole companies, launched screaming matches in mansions, slapped each other silly, and then, occasionally, drank wine like frenemies who'd known each other too long to walk away. It wasn't just drama. It was deeply emotional, beautifully acted conflict rooted in pain, pride, and sometimes even twisted love. From Catherine marrying Jill's much older husband to Jill battling Catherine for Chancellor Industries, their war wove through decades of soap history. They were mother figures, enemies, sisters-in-law, business rivals, and at times, near soulmates. But they always came back to one thing, the fight. And nobody could fight quite like Gene and Jess. Jess Walton on Gene Cooper. She was fierce, funny, and real. Before we dive into the soggy showdown that lives in infamy, it's important to understand what Jess Walton really thought about her scene partner, because that's part of what made it special. She had this incredible presence, Jess once shared in an interview. You always knew when Gene was in the building. She had that sparkle in her eye, that sharp tongue, and this beautiful depth underneath it all. I adored her. Jess described working with Gene as thrilling and unpredictable, the kind of acting experience you dream of. She didn't just say lines. She lived them. And if you weren't 100% there with her, she'd eat you alive, in the best possible way. Their chemistry didn't come from being best friends off screen, though they had tremendous respect and affection for each other. It came from trust. They trusted each other enough to go big, to throw drinks, to scream,
to cry, to feel.
And nothing embodied that trust more than a now iconic scene that involved a garden hose, high drama, and two divas giving it everything they had. The scene, Jill versus Catherine, the backyard hose fight. You know the one. The sun is shining. Catherine and Jill are yelling again. Insults fly like arrows. Hair is perfect, lipstick immaculate. But then the hose appears. Catherine, done with the back and forth, grabs a garden hose and lets Jill have it. A full-on soaking ensues. Screams. Laughter. Revenge. Jill fights back, grabbing the hose herself. It devolves into something primal, ridiculous, hilarious, and absolutely brilliant. It's a moment few soaps would dare to try, and only the young and the restless could make unforgettable. People still come up to me about that scene, Jess says with a grin. It was pure magic, and completely, wildly real. Behind the scenes, what really happened that day. Jess Walton has opened up about filming that unforgettable moment. And according to her, there was no stunt double, no CGI, no careful trickling of water. It was a full-on soaking, and she loved every second. It was cold, Jess laughed, and it was messy, but it was one of the most freeing days I've ever had on set. Jean didn't hold back, and neither did Jess. When she hit me with that water, I let out this scream that wasn't even acting. It was surprise and joy and total shock. We were both just in it. Completely. And the crew? They were dying. I think the camera guy was shaking from laughter. What's most impressive is that this wasn't some gimmick tossed into the script for laughs. It came from years of emotional buildup. These two women had been circling each other in conflict and grief and betrayal for so long that the moment felt inevitable. Cleansing even. Like a baptism of rage and humor. The scene's legacy. Why it still resonates. You'd think a scene where two glamorous soap icons get soaked in a backyard would be remembered for its absurdity. But fans remember it for something else entirely. Its honesty.
It was funny, yes.
But it was also real. It captured the essence of Jill and Catherine's relationship. The passion, the absurdity, the love buried under layers of hate. There's something cathartic about seeing women feel this deeply on daytime. To scream and soak and then move on. That's real life. That's Y&R. Fans still share gifs of the moment. Still quote it. Still smile remembering it. It's become a symbol of everything that made Jill and Catherine iconic. Boldness, bravado, and the willingness to throw water in the face of their past. Jess reflects on the aftermath. In the hours after the scene wrapped, Jess says she was dripping wet, exhausted, and giddy. Jean and I just looked at each other and laughed, she recalled. It was one of those days you don't forget. The producers loved it. The writers were thrilled. And the fans? They went wild. Jess received letters for years, handwritten ones, thanking her for the scene. Women who saw themselves in Jill. Mothers and daughters who saw their own complicated dynamics. Longtime fans who just needed a laugh. It connected with people, Jess said. It reminded us that sometimes the most emotional moments are also the messiest. And that's okay. What that scene taught us about Jill and Catherine. The hose fight wasn't just about water. It was about everything that had ever passed between them. The betrayals, the stolen lovers, the business battles, the weird, inexplicable closeness they couldn't shake. It was the kind of fight you have with someone you can't cut out of your life, no matter how hard you try. Afterward, something shifted. Not permanently, of course. These two always found ways to fight again. But something softened. A wall came down. They could fight like hell and still care. That's the kind of nuanced storytelling that only Y&R could consistently pull off. And it's a credit to both actresses that they made it feel so earned. Why Jess Walton still cherishes it today. Years after Jean Cooper's passing, Jess Walton continues to speak of her with reverence and love. I miss her, she said recently. There was no one like her. She was generous, fierce, and endlessly surprising. And the hose scene? It lives in Jess's heart as a symbol of everything she loved about acting, especially acting with Gene. There was joy in that scene, Jess says. Real joy. And I think people felt that. She keeps photos of that day. Fans send her clips. Her grandchildren have seen it. It's a legacy, frozen in time, not just for the characters, but for two women who turned a soap rivalry into a masterpiece. A moment that can't be replicated. You can write great scenes. You can even film dramatic showdowns with today's stars. But the host scene stands alone because of the actors behind it. Jess and Gene didn't just play a feud. They embodied it. Their timing, chemistry, and trust made even the most outrageous scene feel grounded and true. And in today's world of fast-paced, often overproduced television, that kind of authenticity is rare. That's why the scene is magic. And why Jess still glows when she talks about it. Final reflections, soaked in laughter, drenched in legacy. In the ever-turning world of Genoa City, few moments stop the clock. But Jess Walton and Gene Cooper did just that on a sunny day with a garden hose and decades of shared history. They made us laugh. They made us feel. They reminded us that daytime drama, at its best, is about heart, humor, and humanity, even if it leaves you dripping wet. So, the next time you're scrolling through classic Y&R clips, look for that backyard battle. Watch the sparks fly. Watch the legends roar. And remember, sometimes the most magical scenes are the messiest.